Hey everybody, welcome back to another production meeting. What is up, party people?
Yo.
I've been
How's it
doing
going?
nothing but gaming this week. Nothing but gaming. In fact,
What have you been gaming, Alex?
I have everything right here that I've been gaming this week.
You did all that this week?
Not in its entirety, no. So technically not all of it. So I have Clint's copy of Valhalla that I have to get to. I've installed it. I beat Kingdom Hearts. That's a good little game if you like the series and you want the music. Sackboy, beat that. Funny story about this, real quick. There are trials in this game called Knitted Night Trials, because he's a little Sackboy, he's knitted, he's crocheted. And they're just little time things. So you just try and traverse through these different things and get to the end in a certain amount of time. And there's one that is I forget what it's called, but it puts all of them together in one thing and you have to beat it in 10 minutes or less. So it's not that hard. You have to get through it real quick. So I did it. I got the platinum, and so I did it. And I was playing with another dude because I needed multiplayer trophies. And he's like, yeah, man, can you try this out for me? I don't know. And I was like, yeah, sure. Because he helped me out. He helped me get some trophies. So I was like, okay. He died instantly. And then I jumped in and I beat it in one try for him. 10 minutes later, he was like, dude, you're insane. No, you're insane. So I was like, yeah, man, there you go. He's like, I'm going to go tell somebody. I don't know. So I beat that. In honor for MLB 21, the show, which just got announced this week, I've been going back and playing 20, the show 20, however you want to say it. And this is a cute little game that I didn't think was going to be anything. Immortals, Phoenix Rising. That's actually pretty cool, this game. It's like if God of War were mixed with Deadpool and slapsticky stuff. Like it tells Greek mythology, but in a humorous way. So I like that. So what is that? Technically only 4 games. So that's what I did this week and the homework.
Was God of War not humorous for you?
Humorous? No, it wasn't. No, it's not. The point of that is not to be humorous, but it does have some humor. No, this. Oh dang! It's only PS5. I was gonna be like, Clint, you can borrow it.
Yeah.
I'll just lend you the PS5. And
I thought you would have gone back and played the God of War since they released the PS5 update or whatever.
I did put the update for that in my system, so that's all booted up, ready to go when I finally do get to that. But I feel like I got to get to this backlog before I play one that I've already played twice.
Yeah,
actually.
Already. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's good, man. I've only played a few more hours of Greedfall, and now that they have Control available for free, I really want to play that. But I'm going to focus on Greedfall. I've played my Overwatches, I've played my Rocket Leagues, and that's what I've been doing. I did watch a few horror movies this week. They're few and far between now. Some ones of note. There's a cute little movie on Hulu, and I say cute because the first 5 minutes are okay, and then the rest of it is garbage, called Midnight Man. It's pretty dumb, but I would say just watch the first 5 minutes for something that's a little creepy and kind of fun. Then also, were any of you guys aware that they remade Carrie in like 2002?
Yeah,
A little bit.
2012.
No. Not the remake with Chloe Moretz in it. There is a Carrie remake from like the early 2000s. It was on TV. And Jeannie turned it on because she thought it was a Chloe Moretz one, and it was something completely different, which I had completely forgotten. I looked up the cover for it, and I remember seeing it when I worked at Blockbuster, but I never watched it. This movie is god awful. It's like, not that they're great Carrie films. I mean, I guess the original Carrie is pretty fun in like a Stephen King kind of way, but this is it's pretty bad. It makes the Chloe Moretz version look like Citizen Kane. The CGI in it is god awful. It is so bad. So yeah, glowing reviews from me if you want to go check out a really awful movie. And it's just Carrie.
Is it the sequel?
No. We're not talking about The Rage. We are not talking about The Rage.
This is an
We're
actual.
talking about
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
So that was it. Also watched a movie called Death of Me, which is about some girl who gets stranded on an island, and there's a monster after her, and no one. Well, she's by herself, and then two people also show up that got stranded, and it's pretty. There's like a couple moments that are kind of cool, but the end of it's pretty lackluster. So I cannot recommend that one. And then also we finished watching Evil, which is actually a pretty solid show. I feel if you're into like supernatural series, can't wait for the second season. It's supposed to come out in spring. It's already been filmed from what I've heard, because it does leave on a cliffhanger. It's a good show, especially because I think you would go into it thinking there'd be one-off episodes, but every single episode is connected. So it's pretty good. So I recommend that if you're into supernatural series. But that's what I've been doing.
Cool. Yeah, it's a TV movie.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know that. Ryan?
TV movies are so hard to keep track of anyway. There was a remake of Rosemary's Baby a couple years ago with Zoe Saldana.
Oh yeah.
I didn't do a ton because I work, and I had to reset my PlayStation 4. So everything I wasn't doing at work was pretty much recapturing my progress in Fallout 4 and nothing else. I know, way back when. I've started that game 3 times now and not finished it. So you know.
It's like me and Final Fantasy. 14, 15.
So that's big. Thousands of those.
Remember the title.
Yeah.
So only thing I watched of note was The Assistant, which came out early 2020, March 2020, I believe. Thought it was pretty interesting. I saw it on a list of like the underrated movies of the year, and I just kind of missed it and didn't go back to it. Pretty fascinating stuff right off the bat. It's kind of a little dry, but it's got a really interesting character setup, really interesting story. It gets going, and then it just ends really abruptly, but it's probably still worth a watch.
Cool. Yeah, I seen that on Hulu. I was going to give it a shot. All right. Well, while you guys were doing that, I finished some seasons that I started. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Finished the season 3 of that. That's pretty funny. Finished both seasons of What We Do in the Shadows. Alex, you will hate this show.
You might like it. You never know.
Speaking of that, I was like, I forgot to even watch another episode of Servant, and I think I'm giving up on that just because I've lost interest.
Yeah, wait till all the seasons or all the episodes drop, and then like kind of like binge it if you want. I would if they're all together, because then it starts to make sense. Mm-hmm. Finished Bosch season 6, and watched all of Schitt's Creek. So love that show. Yeah, love that show. Are we ready for some news?
Oh God, who died?
Oh, this week on production meetings, people who died. Well, let's start
that's
off.
Unfortunate. It's gotten to that point where we would have a segment for that.
Yeah. Well, let's start off with some Justice League news. Justice League is going to be rated R officially. Yeah. Okay. Batman drops
some F-bombs. Yeah, we're getting F-bombs, man.
There was a time where they were like, there's an extended cut of Batman v Superman, and it's going to be R. I'm not even sure why it's R, and I've seen it.
Yeah. And it's dropping on the March 18th, which, by the way, it kind of makes sense now why Kong got pushed back a week, because I believe this was Kong and Godzilla's like push-up date, wasn't it? Like this is where they landed, and then they got removed.
That sounds right. Yeah, so they don't want to fight against themselves. They want to saturate the market as much as they can.
Yeah.
Godzilla v Kong v Justice League.
The dark side.
Buy me 5 tickets, please.
All the money. So what do you guys think about Justice League being rated R? Dude, I'm with you, Ryan. I don't know why we need this.
I'm on the fence. I don't it's not good or bad to me. I'm like, let's just forget about the rating. Let's just see the movie and rate the quality of the movie.
I just feel like they're
hours.
just trying to come out with new news to make it seem way more different than the original. So they're like, all right, this has changed, this has changed, this has changed. It's going to be super R. There's going to be F-bombs all over the place. Check out, this could be the Joker. You don't know. It might be. And yeah, I'm excited though. I am excited. I'm going to temper my expectations, but I'm excited for hopefully a good version of a bad movie.
Do you guys remember that time that the third Hobbit got an R cut?
Bilbo wasn't having it that day.
Why does that movie exist?
Time filler. That's why.
It's not even a time filler. It's not like
money,
they could just cut it off. Yeah, I understand that. But still, does anyone ever actually go back and like, oh man, I can't wait to watch Battle of the Five Armies again?
I rewatch the six Lord of the Rings films like once a year, and I hate that movie more every time I watch it because I always have to sit through it. And I enjoy the first two Hobbit movies a good amount, but I've gotten to the point where it has to start Hobbit 1, 2, 3, Lord of the Rings 1, 2, 3, just so I can't end on Battle of the Five Armies.
Yeah.
Right, and I've mentioned on the videos where I will not watch Battle of the Five Armies because of principle. I'm like, that is one movie stretched into what, 3 hours?
Alex, watch
one chapter.
Just watch the opening 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes.
Sounds like Mulan,
So,
but
I think what we're saying is we need the abridged cut. We need somebody just to put those two together. Not the extended version, the abridged version, please.
Nice.
I even avoided it on HBO Max. I'm like, no, this doesn't exist, and you're not going to force it down my throat with this.
I mean, if you look at them, Lord of the Rings, first one came out 2001?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's now granted, there isn't that much that happens in the grand scheme of things, but CGI and graphics, being what they were back then, it's pretty impressive. And then you go to now being what? When did the first Hobbit come out? 2012. 12. Okay.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that, especially the middle one, the Desolation of Smaug, they are not impressive visually at all. In fact, they're very regressive. And yeah, so I love the Hobbit book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. The movie series is another thing.
Yeah.
New.
Waste of talent.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. Wakanda, I guess, is getting a series developed by Disney Plus. Kingdom of Wakanda, I believe, is the title of the series. Not really sure what it's going to entail. Just Ryan Coogler comes out and said that he's going to be a part of it, and that he's going to start directing all this stuff, and that he's happy to be working with Disney because they sign his paycheck.
That's why anybody's happy to do any project.
Right?
Is this series supposed to come out before the movie comes out?
It didn't say. It just says that it was in development. So I'm assuming it's supposed to be in correlation with the movie.
Okay.
Because Kevin Feige did say during that whole Walt Disney thing that they were not recasting T'Challa, and that this second movie is supposed to be kind of like this round table of Black Panthers or whatever. So I'm assuming that that's what the series is going to be, is kind of like delving more into like the tribes and stuff of Wakanda.
Gotcha.
It could be where they use this series to have Shuri transition into the main character and then not make that the next movie's objective. Establish it in the series and then, make the next movie, all about her. I don't know. That's just a theory.
Yeah. Well, that's a good theory. It's a good theory. So HBO Max is making a Game of Thrones animated series. I'm not sure how much they can milk this cow for, but apparently they're gonna go animated with this. What's up, Ryan?
So we've got my only pitch in for any of these until we get off of the shows. Like everything's getting a show, and Kong's getting a show, and I don't care. But I saw that Raymond Djawadi is coming back for House of the Dragon, the composer. It's my only happy news for the week. I don't care about any. All these shows will come out, and then I'll have thoughts about them.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you can't. They can milk Game of Thrones, but they're still trying to look for a new cow to milk. You can't get any more juice out of that old series, man. They can buy a new cow and label it Game of Thrones if they want to, which is what they're gonna have to do. But that other one's done.
Yeah. I think Netflix stole that cow and named it The Witcher.
Yeah, right.
No.
I don't even know what they're gonna do with this. They said it was supposed to be like some dramatic animated series. Who wants to watch this? Like, what are they gonna do? Go over the books again? By the way, in case you forgot, now we're animated. Season 8 is just as bad.
It's gonna be a cross of Game of Thrones and How to Train a Dragon. They're just gonna be dragons and they're gonna be flying around on them. Super prequel.
Yay.
Yeah, I
Super.
remember when before I even got in the show, it was like 6 seasons had been let out before I started watching it. And what got me into it were I think I saw or read about reaction videos to the dragons, and they're everywhere or something like that. And I watched and I got to that point, that season 6 point, and I'm like, okay, they're there a little bit, but is it just me or was this overhyped by a fair amount?
That bad mouthing season 6. It's all we have left.
Okay, that's fine. I was just saying.
It's okay. Apparently they thought the same thing about you, so then they just killed them right the next season, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, these dragons are overhyped. Done. Don't worry about it.
Oh, you like them dead.
Right. Oh well. Speaking of HBO, The Nevers got a teaser trailer, which looks pretty interesting. I don't know if you guys have caught this trailer or not. This is the Joss Whedon created, but now has a better showrunner show. Yeah. Which, by the way, I kind of want to call out. I can't remember who posted this, this article, but they said that The Nevers got a new showrunner and then put his face up there. I can't remember if it was Variety or something like that, but it was okay, can we put the new showrunner? We don't really care if Joss Whedon is exhausted. Let's put the new showrunner up there. Anyway, that was my rant, my mini rant.
Wait, are we supposed to? Do we like or do we not like Joss Whedon now? It's a jury out on that.
That's a great question.
Well, I know that he's been pushing some racial buttons with apparently Ray Fisher, and I guess he was having affairs all up and down his career, so I'm guessing not.
That's a shame, man. Such a shame. Maybe he just needs to take a break, get his life in order, maybe sit down, come up with something new. Take 5 years off, man. Take your time.
I know. Well, he was supposed to do Batgirl, I thought.
And that's when he gets arrested and gets sent into jail for 5 years. Good call, Matt.
Awesome. Anyway, the show looks good. I'll be watching this in April, apparently. The Nevers. Willow series gets a new director in Jonathan Entwistle. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was the helmer with I'm Not Okay With This, which sadly got only 1 season on Netflix. It was kind of an interesting show. It was with, I just named blanked on her. She's from It. It was an Uncle Frank. What was her name? Sophie.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I can't think of her name either. All right, research time.
Redhead from It.
That girl, Sophia Lillis.
Yeah, that was her name. Sophia Lillis. It was a good show. But he's going to be the new director of the Willow series. So I think this is kind of a good choice. I think he got the tone, very tonal. It's pretty good.
Is she going to play Willow?
No, I'm willing to bet that she's going to play. Oh crap! The other woman that's there, the redhead in the movie. I can't remember her name now.
That guy with the face and the hair. That person.
The
Red
redhead's going to
Monaghan's-
play the redhead, okay?
Yeah, man.
Red hair 1, red hair 2.
Yeah,
That's what we'll call him.
I'm just gonna apologize. I pulled all this news like late yesterday.
What if we heard? What if we heard that tomorrow the kid from he's in that movie Finn Wolfhard?
Yeah.
What if we learned that he was like directing something? How excited would we be for that?
Is that something you just learned?
No, I'm just saying. I'm speculating.
Just throwing
I'm
that out
looking
there.
at the cast.
I was like,
He's thinking
What?
he's having a fantasy over here. He really wants Finn Wolf, what's his face, to direct something.
I'd be happy for him.
yeah, good for him. I mean, he's a
Yeah,
good
we
actor.
should have our own version of What If.
What if? Okay.
I like how Ryan asked that. Did you just learn that?
It's just this a random question.
I know.
I know, right? I was like,
Well, he made me
all
look
right.
up the It cast, and I was like, oh yeah, he was in that. I forgot about that.
anyway, what if Brandon Fraser was coming back for a Mummy series? Would we
What?
be excited
Say it
about
ain't
that?
so.
Bring him back.
I guess I do have something to say about that. I don't know why he would want to. The first Mummy like physically destroyed him.
This man
The
has
first
been
two or
out
just
of
the
work for
first
a
one?
while, hasn't he? Like,
I guess he did all three, but he expressed displeasure in working on all three. He
Really?
kept sustaining injuries.
Oh,
But he also, I think, probably realizes that movie, I guess, made him as a star. So it's at the same
Facts.
point
Yeah.
he's like, eh.
maybe.
yeah, I mean, I remember commenting saying, this man needs a job. I don't care about the quality. I need this man to have a job.
I want a bold reassertion of the dark universe and just to have Russell Crowe show up in Brendan Fraser's Mummy series.
There you go.
And
don't
he'll
know
be
if it'd be good or
terrified
not.
beyond belief, and he'll be like, not you again.
Just
Russell
course
Crowe.
correct.
Yeah, man. Like this Tom Cruise was nothing. But he does have a job. He's like the voice of Mr. Robot in Doom Patrol. So
I wouldn't know that.
that's
Well,
what
good
I'm
for
here
you,
to tell
Brendan
that.
Fraser.
I know.
Good for you.
But yeah, I think he needs to get like his life back together. Didn't he come out and say that he was like sexually assaulted or something?
I don't know if it's that, but there was, yeah.
He
I
said
remember there's
he was
something
like he was like caressed or something, or like
Yeah.
it came on to him. It wasn't anything like incredibly graphic, but technically yes, he was
Right.
assaulted,
Sorry, Mr.
and then he got
Fraser.
blacklisted, from what he says.
Yeah, give this man a job. He needs a job. Before we do the last bit of news, I kind of wanted to go over see what you guys thought of the Golden Globes were nominated, or the nominations for the Golden Globes were put out. But first, and sadly, Screech has passed away in his battle of lung cancer. Ryan apparently doesn't know who
Ryan.
Screech is.
He would want us to laugh. He would want us to laugh.
Yes.
Every week there's one thing I don't know.
Saved by the Bell, man. It's
Oh, I know
Earlier-
what.
oh,
I just
okay.
I thought it was I don't even know. I don't even know what that is actually. I know its name.
Saved by the
name of
Bell?
show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was on like the early
And it's-
90s.
Yeah, what?
It's Saturday
Zach
morning.
Morris and what is it? What was the name of the school? Valley High.
Was it Bayside?
Bayside.
Bayside. That was it. Yep.
I don't know even where I pulled that from. I didn't even watch the show.
Encyclopedia man, right
there. Which I know this is not funny, but like Hal Holbrook died too, and I was for sure that man had been passed away for years.
I know. I feel like that's the thing. You see these people show up and they're like, they died, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you serious?
I thought it was fake news.
So we're like, God, we got to announce someone died. Let's see if we can sneak this person in and see if anyone's already noticed that he already died like 10 years ago.
Jeez.
She was like nominated for like an Oscar like 10, 15 years ago, and he was like 80, and I was like, I thought he was passed away by now. But it's still sad. So, like I said, the Golden Globe nominations were held a couple days ago. Just wanted to go over a few of them that kind of stood out to me and see if you guys had any thoughts on them. It's quite a list, but Mank, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of the Chicago 7 were nominated for Best Drama. Just shout out if you guys have any like thoughts on this stuff.
Well, I agree with those. I mean, I haven't seen half of them though, so I don't know what the weight of that is. But,
Right.
I agree with that, except for, I didn't drink the Kool-Aid on Mank. I mean, I guess, people really like it. I didn't think it was exceptional or like great. I feel like there probably could have been better choices, but politics are politics. So there you go. But yeah, I can't really complain.
Anybody else?
Well, I guess my thoughts aren't necessarily just on Best Picture. They're kind of overall, because a couple of those films did really lead. And my favorite film of the year, as far as like second favorite film of the year, as far as like the Oscar films go, were like Chicago 7 and Promising Young Woman were like back to back on my best list. And I haven't seen Nomadland because it's not out, and it doesn't look interesting to me at all. And it's been a forerunner for Best Picture since like last January. So I was so happy to see Promising Young Woman take lead over Nomadland for most nominations. And whoever wins the Golden Globes doesn't really seem to matter that much, but nominations seem to matter. The amount of attention they seem to matter, and the Screenwriters Guild not putting in like Mank seems to kind of take that out of the run a little bit. I mean, I'm sure Sorkin's got a good shot for writing, but Chicago 7's probably not going to be a Best Picture against the other two. So
No.
I mean, I would not have thought Promising Young Woman would be like a runner-up for Best Picture, but I'm really hoping.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like my thoughts are almost invalid because I've only seen one out of those. What was it? 4 of them, and that was Chicago 7. And although I want to see Promising Young Woman, like part of me, just because of the hype, wants to be like, yeah, that should be the winner, but still got to watch it. So.
Right. So Viola Davis and Vanessa Kirby were nominated for Best Actress in a Drama. Thought these were both very well deserved. Riz Ahmed, Gary Oldman, and Chadwick Boseman were nominated for Actor in a Drama. Not surprised about Chadwick Boseman. Riz Ahmed is a very good actor in Sound of Metal.
Yeah.
Kind of a surprising one. Palm Springs is actually nominated for Best Comedy, along with Borat.
Can we? Yeah, read the rest of those, please.
Yes, please.
Oh, read the rest of them? Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
Oh, I was just picking out interesting ones.
No,
Hold on.
Read all the musical
comedies.
The comedies.
Yeah.
You have the same thought I did, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so Borat, Hamilton, Music, Palm Springs, and The Prom.
So 4 of those are movies.
Yeah, Hamilton. I mean, are we taking the fact that it is comedy or musical a little too on the nose here? Yeah, it's a musical, but it's not a film. I mean, it's a film as in they took a camera on a stage and was like, hey, this is a play, sir. What are we doing?
There's awards for them already, and Hamilton has a bunch of them already.
It's the dumbest. I feel like they're just punking us. I feel like they're like, well, someone walked into a room and like, are we really nominating this? And they were like, well, it says musical, and technically, like, yeah, but technically, it's really not a film? Are we nominating this for best director? Is there a best screenplay that's going in for this? Anything?
He got a best
No.
actor nod.
Did it really?
Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda's up for best lead in a comedy.
Also, politics,
Musical
man.
Yep.
Disney's like, we don't have our name on this list anywhere. We got to get some of these nominations.
It's almost like Palm Springs is like a spiteful nomination. Sounds like it to me. I didn't like it.
Sounds like Disney should have made some good live action content this year instead of 2 of the worst movies of the year.
That's very valid.
Well,
I agree.
Hold that thought. Okay, so Maria Dankalova and Anya Taylor-Joy were nominated for actress in a comedy as well. Anya Taylor-Joy was nominated actually for Emma, and Maria Dankalova, she was nominated for Borat. Andy Samberg and Sacha Baron Cohen were nominated for actor in a comedy.
Can we? I don't know if you were going to get to this, but can we just make note that Sacha Baron Cohen is nominated for both comedy and drama?
And
yes,
that's crazy. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm. I was actually going to get that, but yes, he is. Wolf Walkers and Soul were nominated for Best Animated Film. Amanda Seyfried was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. Sacha Baron Cohen, Leslie Odom, and Jared Leto were actually nominated for Supporting Actor. Regina King, Aaron Sorkin, Fincher, and Emerald Fennell were all nominated for Best Director. I think Regina King and at least Fincher, I haven't seen Promising Young Women, but I believe that Fincher was a good choice, even though Mank wasn't like the best movie, but I think he did well. But especially Regina King, I think that she needs to be nominated at least for this.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
Speaking of Disney, The Mandalorian and Lovecraft Country were nominated for Best Drama Series this year. I don't think The Mandalorian's going to pull this out, but it's fun to see it up there. Yeah, and this is their only nomination. Schitt's Creek, The Flight Attendant, and Ted Lasso were all nominated for Best Comedy Series. And the 4 main actors of Schitt's Creek all nominated for their acting in comedy.
I would love it if they all swept these categories. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think there's a small chance, and I think that would be very appropriate if they did.
Well, since you bring that, because they did sweep the Emmys.
Oh yeah.
So with Catherine O'Hara, she's nominated against Jane Levy, Elle Fanning, Kaylee Cuoco, and Lily Collins. Eugene Levy is nominated against Nicholas Hoult, Don Cheadle, Jason Sudeikis, and Remy Youssef. Where is? So supporting role for television is broad. It's not as like put down as like comedy or drama. And I think this is why I don't think that they're going to get swept, because Annie Murphy's actually up against Helena Bonham Carter, Gillian Anderson, Cynthia Nixon, and Julia Garner for Ozark. And with Daniel Levy, John Boyega, Brendan Gleeson, Jim Parsons, and Donald Sutherland are all in that same category. So I don't think they are going to sweep it. It would be nice, but those are some heavy hitters.
True dead.
Yeah. So, and last but not least, Queen's Gambit got nominated for the limited series.
Solid. That's solid.
Yeah.
I have one more nitpicky thought. You can nominate 5 things for every category. 4 nominees for original score sucks. I'm like the only one who cares who wins original score. That's 4 of them instead of 5. I don't care about like most of them. News of the World should win.
Well, since our friend, so Alexander Desplat was nominated for Midnight Sky. Ludwig Göransson was nominated for Tenet. James Newton Howard was nominated for News of the World. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross for Mank. And Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, and John Baptiste was nominated for Soul.
Okay, well,
wait.
I apparently don't pay enough attention, so I'm just gonna.
I was right with I didn't know Soul got nominated, so
I pulled that list up on the freaking Golden Globes website, and it cut off at the 4, and then had all the ads and stuff at the bottom. So I feel stupid.
Oh.
Yeah, those are good nominees. Yeah, hope James Newton Howard wins.
But how can Trent Reznor get nominated twice?
Because they got, well, I guess because they did. They've been nominating the two composers' systems because in 2010 they won for Social Network, which was a fantastic score. But in 2008 they did nominate James Newton Howard and Hans Zimmer for The Dark Knight because they said they were working together and they couldn't nominate more than one composer, even though they've been nominating more than one composer since like the 40s. So they disqualified The Dark Knight from competing for Best Original Score, and they've been trying to make up for it ever since.
oh,
Wow, interesting.
the more you
Today
know.
we learned something. Yeah. Half
And
the
they
battle.
probably deserved it, objectively speaking, because I listen to more soundtracks than I watch movies. I listen to soundtracks for movies I didn't watch this year, and those they're not fun listens, I don't think, but they're really good work for both those scores.
I didn't even know that they were Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross did Soul.
Yeah, it's a weird hybrid score where it's like they do about half the score and John Baptiste did the other half of the score. So it's not like the three of them working specifically together, but it blends pretty well.
Interesting.
That's something they would have disqualified 10 years ago.
All right. Any other news, thoughts, and Golden Globes? Nothing?
Nope.
All right. Then it's time to turn on our television, sir.
Yay.
Yay. So, episode 4 of WandaVision was dropped, and this one actually tells the first 3 episodes from Sword's perspective. We kind of get or Monica Rambeau's perspective as well. Darcy comes back, Agent Wu is back. So we're learning little bits and pieces from the other side of the wall. I absolutely adored this episode. I think it gave a lot more answers to a lot of things, and I think it kind of hints at a lot of stuff that could happen in later episodes. We'll talk spoilers in a little bit, but I think this is kind of like showing Elizabeth Olsen's range as well, because she goes all dark Scarlet Witch on Monica and like boots her out pretty quickly. And you see it from Monica's kind of point of view as well. So you can see that she's being set up as like the main villain of this show. But yeah, they lose the sitcom aspect of the show, the first 3 episodes. I believe they're going to go back to it in the next episode, because I believe it's the 80s episode. But yeah, you do learn a little bit more, and there's a lot more humor with this one. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but I absolutely adore this episode. What did you guys think?
I'll let you guys go first.
I feel like I should go first because I was the harshest on the other 3 episodes. I also adored this episode, and I knew I would, and I knew this would come back to hurt me if I talked badly about the other 3. My only negative thought that remains still is that I the second episode is still like I was thinking like, oh, I could go back and rewatch these now, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'd still be bored to death in the second episode. I still think it should have been pilot day 2 episodes. This would have been the 3rd episode. But I thought this was a fantastic episode. It was the perfect time to bring this in for the audience to keep us invested, because
Right.
I don't think the last one or the 3rd episode worked well at all for me. And my opinions on that haven't changed. There's still a lot of questions I have where it's like, we did this for the sake of doing it in this episode, and now it doesn't make sense. And I'll get to those later. But really great stuff. Really great stuff.
I agree. I still go on my tangent of I think everything's going to look a lot better once the whole series is done and out. I think the second episode is good. I like how everything's put together. I like the gimmick they're going for. This episode was good because of those first 3 episodes. I think that's what made this episode so entertaining. Definitely 8 out of 10 for me. I don't really go much higher than that unless it was super standout. I thought it was good. Very impressed that I didn't want to turn it off just because of Kat Dennings in my face all episode. So I guess that's a small victory or a large victory for WandaVision in itself. I'm very glad that they actually made her character useful.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like Agent Wu, man? He's a good guy. So so good. It's a good episode. And without spoilers, I will hand the mic over to Alan.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Definitely good. Best episode so far. This is finally that point that we had all been mentioning, like we're leading up to, and they're finally going to show us some detail, some kind of meat behind this. And I guess I'll save it. I don't know if it's technically a spoiler, so I'm just going to avoid saying it until we say spoilers. But yeah, it was good. And those episodes, like Ryan, like even though we know he kind of was a little critical on them, not totally bad, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, those are kind of bad episodes on their own. So we just had to wait for this moment, and we finally got that. So now, without knowing too much still, we can kind of theorize where things are happening from and where things are going. So I like that. And I think because you had the end of the last episode to kind of set up for this episode, for sure. So it was a nice little, not 1-2 punch, more like a half 1 and then 2 punch. So it's good. I think having that little tidbit right at the end and then leading into what happens in this, is effective rather than having it all bunched into one. Yeah, it's good. 8 out of 10 for this one. All the other ones were like 6s, even a 5 maybe. So yeah, 8. It's finally going somewhere, and I'm happy with it.
All right. Well, then let's do spoilers. Spoilers for WandaVision.
Okay. Can I say real quick?
Go ahead.
One interesting fact, not fact, but like, I don't know if you guys can honestly remember watching. I'm pretty sure it was the previous episode in 3 where they had the babies and they were sitting on the couch, and it kind of flickers. It kind of skips a scene. And I thought I was like I had to rewind because I was like, okay, did I just like do something weird? And it did it again. And I'm just like, and the effective thing was they didn't even pretend to even address it at all. They didn't like hint towards it at all. And until this episode, when they went back and see that was like the censored little part that we had to take out, or whoever took out, whoever's pulling the strings ultimately. So I like that a lot because they didn't address it whatsoever, and it was effective. It was annoying not knowing for a week, but that was my favorite part. Small detail, ironically enough, for the review this week. So yeah, that was my favorite little tidbit that isn't a glaring detail. So
yeah, I think this is I think this episode kind of shows like what can happen outside of this, like if you pull stuff outside of this bubble. Because I mean, if you notice, like when they pulled that rope back from the beekeeper or whatever, like it's like turned back into like a jump rope. So I'm kind of guessing that like if anybody walks outside of this bubble, that they're going to be whatever it is that she created inside of this bubble. So I think that this is how they're going to introduce Billy and Tommy to like the outside world. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to see where they're going to go with this.
And they talk about the timeline a little bit because Kat Dennings is like, yo, Vision is dead. How is he here? So maybe that's their way of like, to add to that, Clint, maybe that's a way of bringing him back, even though that's like a manifestation in Scarlett's in Wanda's brain. That's a way of bringing him back, like physically or for real. I don't know. That's a theory, but I don't think that'll play out, but that's something that maybe could happen.
Yeah. I don't know.
Can we for a second talk about how this episode just rips you into it just by showing you what happens at the snap, or reverse snap, I should say, that we haven't really gotten to see yet.
That was
Officially, it's called the blip.
Yeah, the blip.
The blip. That was ridiculous, and I think they handled that in the most amazing way and gripping way that they could. And I'm kind of wondering if we'll see more of that. I'd like to see more scenes of that happening. I don't know if this is going to be it, but I just enjoyed that. It, starting to fill in gaps that we don't know what's happening, and that's what I love about the show right now, is that we don't know what's going on. There's so many things that there's so many options that could come out, and we don't have a direction. We're just, every episode, it's just something new. And that's what I like about it. And I haven't been disappointed yet. Who knows, if I haven't watched the trailer, the mid-season trailer, I don't know if that shows anything for this, but I'm curious as to are you sure if Wanda's going to be like the big bad in this, or?
No, I don't think so.
Well, I know Clint mentioned it earlier.
Well, that's how they're painting it right now. Yeah. And with the trailer, it doesn't. It's not like on the nose, but it's. I think it can, like, there's the way that they cut it. It kind of like shows her kind of like being the villain of this.
She is also, in theory, controlling a robot corpse.
Yeah.
Huh.
Which I thought was a really fantastic moment, but also really creepy one. I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you can start to see her kind of like losing touch with what's going on.
Deal.
Oh yeah. That part where you kind of see a flicker of vision from when. Yeah. Oh, you're right. That freaked me out for a second. For real. Like. Oh, okay.
Can we also take a moment to just reflect on how smart this writing group was, just for how meta they went with Agent Wu, with his board that had all the questions on there that we had all been asking, the first 3 episodes. Like, how smart were they to go ahead and know that those were going to be what we would be questioning already? Like, what are the hexagons? What is this person doing? How is this relevant? I'm like, really? All right, guys.
That's their way of saying we know we're gonna get to that.
I did have one retrospective nitpick, which is something we talked about way too much, not too much, but a lot last week. That freaking stork scene is so much worse. Thinking back on it now, knowing that she's not only dealing with that like 6 minutes of a stork walking around the room, but that she actually is not in character and could literally just look at it and be like, oh, a stork. Is she trying to ignore it? Is she oblivious? Does it matter?
I don't know.
That dumb stork, man.
Yeah. But to kind of like, I don't know if this is going to spoil it for you, Alex, or not, but the mid-season trailer does show Vision trying to push his way out. So I think he does attempt to leave.
Oh, okay. Oh,
how many more episodes are there? 3 episodes or 4 more episodes?
There are
5.
5
because there's a total of 9. Yep.
I was wondering if they're gonna still keep trying to do like the whole decade gimmick. You know how like the first episode was like the 40s, and then the 50s, and then the next one was the 60s, and then the 70s. Like, this one almost felt like, it didn't feel like an 80s show. It almost felt like a 90s show. Like, they were serious like X-File vibes going on in the show for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if that was an intentional thing or not. So I didn't know if maybe we were going to get like an 80s episode next week and then a 2000s, because this could be our 90s episode. This could technically maybe actually it can't take place, or there can't be an episode.
If you go in like, next week, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 10s, and then now
20s. Yeah.
So who knows?
So far, what would that look like? WandaVision?
Yeah.
I know, right?
As far as I know, they have at least the 3 more decades to kind of like go through, because next week would be the 80s, because it has like this family ties style like setup. And then the Halloween episode is supposed to be like the 90s, I guess. And then through the mid-season trailer, you kind of see this like Modern Family mockumentary type like setup. So I'm guessing that's the 2000s. So
Okay.
after that, I have no idea. I'm wondering if that's the last two episodes where she kind of like wigs out, per se. I don't know. So, cool beans.
Cool beans, man. I'm excited.
I am
So wait,
excited.
tomorrow we get a new episode tomorrow, man, or tonight.
Yeah, we
You
get
up
it in
late
an
enough?
hour and a half.
Do we? Do they really drop at midnight?
No, they come out at 3 a.m.
Oh.
I think, because it
Oh,
comes out midnight
bad.
Western.
Pacific Coast time.
Yeah, Pacific time. Yeah.
Does that mean I get it before you guys?
No, we all get it at the same time.
I know that's not how time
Smarty
travel
pants.
works.
We're in the future. Ryan's stuck in the past. That's why he's wearing his Back to Future shirt, Back to the Future
Oh, yeah.
shirt.
Yeah. All right. Any more thoughts on WandaVision? All right.
Nope.
then
It
this
was definitely the best new thing that I watched this week.
It is.
If we're segueing.
Oh, we're definitely segueing. So this television is off. So this week we reviewed a thing. A boring thing
A very boring little thing.
called The Little Things. Starring Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, Golden Globe nominated Jared Leto, by the way. And geez, I just forgot his name.
Rami Malek.
Denzel?
Horrible.
Rami
This-
Freddie
Malek.
Mercury.
Remy Malek, thank you. And so, I'm going to do this Artemis Fowl style. Okay, I don't know what really happened. I don't know why Denzel Washington left his little house in the prairie. I don't know why Remy Malek decided to like bring him along. I don't know what the hell was up with Jared Leto. I was waiting for 2 hours and 7 minutes for something to happen, and I still have no idea what the hell happened. I told Matt before this was my Wonder Woman 84. I can't believe that I wasted 2 hours and 7 minutes to watch this movie. I thought that Denzel Washington was interesting to a point. Remy Malek was okay. Yes, Jared Leto was interesting in the scenes that he was in. But let's face it, this was so boring and didn't go really anywhere and to top this off, and we'll get to this in spoilers, didn't answer a thing. And I'm kind of like upset.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that last part. But I'll dive into it because I have thought long and hard. So before I'll let you guys share thoughts first because I've got like way too many thoughts on this movie.
Okay, let me go
Really
first.
boring movie.
I'll
Go ahead.
okay, right. No. Go
Can I
ahead.
preface?
Yeah, go for it.
This is one of those movies. The four of us are a good spectrum of criticky critics. We've got like
Agreed.
our Alex on one end who actually enjoys things, and our Matt on the other end who's like, this is a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. And then Clint and I are pretty somewhere in between, depending on what we're watching.
It's a nice blend, yeah.
And I think it's really healthy. And so watching a movie like this, it's really hard to pick apart exactly what doesn't work. But for anybody else, it's almost impossible, except that it's just, oh, this is a movie and we're watching it. So I think this will be an interesting conversation is all. It's one of those things I think you've really got to dive into to figure out what's structurally wrong with this film. And there's a lot really wrong with this film.
Yeah.
Yes. So, am I going next?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, first off, I remember, I'm glad actually Ryan mentioned that because I texted him and I was like 15 minutes into the movie and I said, dude, am I like tripping or is this cut like the same way that Suicide Squad was? Very sharp and quick camera angle changes. Like anytime anybody says a single word, like it's very quick and it's very distracting. And I'm like, dude, am I the only one? And he goes, no, I totally agree with you. So that was a distracting thing. Now, I don't think they stuck with that, or at least not enough for me to notice it later on. Like after about a half hour, I started really paying attention and not noticing that if they kept doing it. Yeah, this is not a gripping movie. Like, not a lot, barely anything happens. I do agree with the whole Jared Leto getting his nomination. His performance is solid. Like, the character itself is not the greatest, encapsulated into a story that's not the greatest either. I don't really have that much to say about it. I don't think it's terribly boring where I am like, oh, why am I watching this? Because for some reason I kept engaged. I don't even know why.
Because it's a car accident.
Yeah. You can't look away. That's funny.
It's one of those accidents where it's like a really minor accident, but your car's totaled anyway.
Yeah, right.
You're looking at it and like, what? It looks fine.
Yeah, this movie also, I mean, it did a lot to make it like more interesting than it was. Like, we were talking about scores before, and I was like, that in this really, really tried to make you pay attention to this. Like, there was a specific scene with Denzel in his car where he's going somewhere, and that score is vamped up a little, like
Batman.
And I'm like, okay, you guys are really trying to get me interested in what ultimately is not very much happening. So it's okay. And every actor has their way of carrying themselves in a movie, and Denzel's obviously no exception. He's got that like very, not stone-faced is kind of the best way to describe it. He's kind of like, he's not emotionless, but for the most part, that's his character in just about anything he plays and acts in, especially recently in the last few years. So it would have been better if he was a little bit more emotional, but I think he's, one, that's his persona, and two, he's at that stage in his career where he's probably not going to look to do any drastic changes to his acting methods. So it would have been more effective had he been able to emote a little bit more in certain scenes that I won't mention for spoilers. There's a lot worse that I've watched, but there's a lot better that I've watched too. This is very middle of the road. And the ending, I'll save it for spoilers. It's not bad. I understand it, but it's not great either. Like, it's not worth the time to get to it, is my point. So 5.5 for me. You know, it's again, it's not terrible. If you came up to me and asked me, hey, should I watch this? Like, hey, do you like these guys? Sure, give it a watch. But, you know, are you missing something if you skip it? No, not at all. So very passable, but not absolutely, you know, unbearable to me. So, you know, 5.5.
Yeah. This movie wasn't painful for me to watch until it was over. I feel like the writer, and I don't have his name in front of me right now, thought they were writing something clever and something smart, but there really wasn't anything to it at the end. The performances are okay. Jared Leto shines in here mainly because no one else is written to shine, and they're all pretty flat.
Bingo.
In fact, I kind of wish, like, if I was casting this, I kind of wish I could switch Rami Malek and Jared Leto's characters, or at least the actors playing the characters. I would have liked to see what that looked like. But this movie was kind of meh. If you want to see something like this, watch. There are other movies out there that are better, and we were joking about this earlier. You can watch Seven. I don't know what you're pointing to.
Seven.
Rear Window. Yeah.
You can.
Oh, yeah.
You can
movies like it.
You can watch if you want to see Denzel playing a detective. Just go watch Training Day if you want something dark, for goodness sake. Watch if you want something dark like this with, like, you know, on the hunt for like somebody who killed somebody. I don't know. You can watch Zodiac. You can watch The Prisoner if you want something depressing like this was going with. I don't know. There's just way more out there. Insomnia. There's just way better things. This movie tries to be clever with the title The Little Things, And I'm sitting there like the whole movie looking through it going, all right, the little things. What am I supposed to be figuring out? What am I supposed to be looking for? What am I supposed to be getting? And then you get to the end and you're like, wait, that's it? There's nothing else to this? This is what I got. Okay. Well, that was a waste of time. So is it a horrible movie? It's passable. Jared Leto does a great job. Mainly because his character is good character written, but it leads to nothing. Which may be the point of the script. I'd give it a 4, but just for Jared Leto's sake, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. There's just better films, guys. There's just better movies, and you'd better off watching those a second or third time than watching this one. And I'm
Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay. There's a lot of things that for me that just didn't work, and I figured out some of it early on. Alex, like we talked about. I wasn't even thinking about the editing. I was thinking about the camera movement because it's trying so hard to be David Fincher, and it's such a misfire. It's like one of those things where you watch Battleship and you're like, this isn't Michael Bay, but then you start thinking about how Michael Bay shoots things. This is like a character leans and then the camera starts panning around them, and I'm like, it's not the same. It's meaningless camera movement. Mm-hmm. Alex, again, you're right. The score is a total misfire. The finale, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but it's completely, we're watching like the finale to the psychological thriller to like the theme song from Finding Nemo. And I'm certain it's Thomas Newman because it's like the same composition from Passengers and Nemo. And Passengers was also not a fitting score. Just too all over the place. Performances, I agree. Jared Leto did a great job. Rami Malek did what he could to make that character as best as he could, but that character I think had the least depth to him. And Denzel Washington, this shouldn't have been Denzel Washington, actually. I think if you take someone at a 10 and you give them a 6, they can't get above a 6. But if you take someone at a 4, they'll try really hard to be at a 10. And you might get a really interesting performance out of somebody who's lesser known than Denzel Washington, who can do this performance in his sleep, and he'll do a good job. But I'm not walking away thinking about his performance at all. And the 3 of them have 4 Oscars between them. So one good performance out of 3 is not good. The pacing is actually quite good, I thought. It's slow, and I think other things make it boring. The movie has some bold choices as far as its beat structure goes. One I feel safe giving away is that they prominently are like, Jared Leto might be the bad guy, and that's a big portion of the movie. And they introduced that idea pretty early on, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But there's a really important character beat that happens near the end of the movie that should have happened at end of Act 1, and that makes one character in particular just so confusing. Somebody touched on how Denzel Washington's character didn't really make any sense. And for the first 2/3 of the movie, he doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So that brings me to my, you know what? I'm going to stop and go back to it when we get to spoilers, because there's one thing that I think this movie really tries for, and it really doesn't work for me. I gave it a 4 out of 10, hands down. It's not one of those movies I would give any lower to, because I'm going to look at the end, like beginning of 2020, I had a bunch of 4s. End of 2020, I did not care about any of them in a negative light because Artemis Fowl came out. But I will get back to my worst thing about this movie.
All right, let's do spoilers, because I deuced all over this. I can't. I gave this a deuce. Like, first of all, as spoilers goes, when it gets to the end of this movie, it doesn't answer the question if this guy actually is the killer or not. And it just kind of ends with him. Go ahead.
Oh, you can finish first.
And it just kind of ends with this, like, Remy just hitting him over the head with a shovel because he wouldn't shut up. And then they gave him the beret because this is what he was looking for some red beret. And it's like, that's not a beret. That looks like a computer mouse. I don't know what this was.
Yeah.
Like, it was huge.
To answer that, not to cut into, Ryan's.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much not a metaphor. I kept thinking the word metaphor. It's more like, because this all happened to Denzel. You know, they if you ever forgot at any point in the movie, they tell you that Denzel went through some traumatic something. They're always reminding you of that, and it didn't end happily. Like his case, he accidentally shot a girl, you know, because he thought she might have been some other, you know, the perpetrator, some murder, whatever. So it's kind of the same deal. He's there as more of a sympathy note for Rami Malek. Like, hey, I went through this too. You're gonna get past it. Like, I mean, you're not gonna get past it, but I mean, you are, but you're not going to ever like have to let it go. Like you're going to have to live with it for the rest of your life is what he's trying to say. But
Right.
you know, you do move on, and just basically I can show empathy and sympathy for you. Like, cause heck, I didn't just do it, but I'm there with you. So that's kind of what I was saying before, where I get the ending, and that's kind of, it's almost poetic, metaphorical, but you know, it's not worth 2 hours to get to that. Like that's kind of
Right.
lame. Like
No.
for a short story, maybe that's a better
Oh yeah,
avenue for this.
definitely. But see, my problem is like where what you were describing is like, why is he shooting at anything to begin with?
Yeah,
Like
that's
this girl.
a dumb part.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, they're like looking through a crime scene. Okay. Why did he pull out his gun that quickly to begin with? Two, what the hell is this like half naked woman running around the bushes for? I don't like. Why are you shooting at this to begin with? It didn't make sense to me. Like it was just, I think that was like when I got to that point and they started to explain like what really happened and why he was like this outlier for like this whole department and how they kicked him out and his divorce and all this other stuff. And it's like, this is what you did? Like you shouldn't have even shooting at her to begin with. Like I just I didn't understand like why he would even bother with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you went back, I bet you could find an explanation for that, like a reason why, but you know, it's not worth going back to look.
Oh,
So
yeah, definitely.
I agree.
They should have cut the entire opening scene and done that as the opening scene and fleshed it out more.
Yeah, thank you. I mean that was another scene like that whole character didn't have any impact on the whole story at all. That whole opening scene was just kind of like,
Well, it's
okay.
It's a misdirect for them because the guy's trying to make it seem like it's a whodunit. Like we're trying to solve this movie, like who's killing. And in the end of the movie, it's not about who killed anybody. That's not the whole point. It's about how these characters turned into who they turn into. And so at the beginning, they show you that scene because they're like, we got to find this person. We got to, find who's killing these people. He's bound to be around here somewhere. But then at the end, they use him shooting, the lady just to be like, just kidding, guys. We're going to show you how this guy makes mistakes. And now Rami Malek's character is inflicted with that too, because he just murdered some guy too, who may or may not be the killer. We don't know. Don't you get it? It's a reveal. And it was just dumb to me, and I did not enjoy that aspect of it at all.
Well, and I think what really doesn't work, and I liked, when I figured it out, I liked what they were trying to do with the characters. They did it in 7, so that's the biggest thing I think they ripped off. But I liked that they've got this character Denzel who already has blood on his hands, and so when Rami Malek follows kind of a similar path, he decides to sacrifice his own soul a little bit more for that, to keep this fresh cop a little bit more innocent. So he thinks he caught the bad guy by the end. But it doesn't matter. Either they did, which isn't a cliffhanger, even though it treats it like one with the stupid reveal of the hair clips or whatever, or they didn't, and more people are going to die, and then he's going to go back into a crisis. So the cliffhanger ending doesn't matter at all, and the character development doesn't matter at all.
That's exactly what I thought when he like tosses barrettes in the thing. I was like, okay, so now we're just covering up a murder that could or could not have been the real killer, and now more girls are going to murder. And what are you going to tell this cop that you just sent a barrette to? My bad. Like,
I'm thinking about it more and more, and I'm like, okay, the little things. That's the name of this thing, and that's kind of like, okay, Denzel's good at noticing little things in order to solve crime and stuff. But I think this movie might be better if the Equalizer movies didn't exist. Only because I say that because that's his character. That's his character to a T in that movie, in those movies. I mean, he notices everything. He's counting his steps and the breaths he takes in a fight sequence and all that. So I mean, he's like totally zoned in. So if they made his character a lot like that in this, they couldn't maybe sell it to him as much, or they didn't think it would be as good a sell to people. Like, oh, they're gonna just say, oh, this is the Equalizer 2.3 or Equalizer A going into another realm. So then they made him be like not as good noticing or getting out of all the little things. Like, I mean, he like we mentioned, he's shot that woman. So if he was better at noticing and doing the little things right, he wouldn't have. Well, and then maybe that's a reason why this film is a little bit better than we're giving it credit for, because he's good at the little things, and then whoops, I shot somebody. So that's like obviously a big thing. So it's like it's sometimes you can think of it in a lot of different ways, but it's kind of clever. I mean, it's in that regard, but it's not the best. I mean, if you think about it too much, you're gonna just hurt yourself. But
I will give credit, and this is going back to Jared Leto, the interrogation scene when they first bring him in. I got a good couple laughs out of that scene.
Yes.
When the phone rings and he's like, "Is that for me?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
couldn't agree more.
Like, and that just goes back to his performance. It's like they wrote that. I feel like they wrote that for him, and they wrote the other two characters not having anybody in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the absurdity of that one scene though, where Denzel's crawling on the roof, where all those cops come in, and this big, 55-year-old, 60-year-old black man just scaling the roof, and everybody sees him except the cops who have surrounded the building. Like, no one knows where he's at except, everybody except the cops, and then they just get away. And I'm like, really? That's how this scene's.
It almost would have been more interesting to have him just get caught and to have these two people continually make bad decisions.
Way more interesting.
Yeah.
And it even separates him and Rami Malek.
And why
just
is
like the movie does anyway.
Why is the detective gonna go follow this guy who he thinks is a serial killer? Why doesn't he be like, okay, I know you're not gonna let my detective friend come, but I'm still gonna wait for him so he knows I'm leaving. Like, why are you going to hop in this car and drive out to the middle of the desert by yourself with some guy who may or may not be a serial killer? But good props to Denzel, man. He's got those tracking skills. He knows how to follow cars and get into the middle of like the fields and wherever they're from and noticing an unlocked gate so he can find them after he's already murdered him. So, you know what?
Well,
I'm
yeah,
giving this movie a 4. I can't. Like, it was a 4, and I'm like, Jared Leto's good, but Jared Leto's character is the only one that's written well in this, or at least entertaining, and that's the only reason he stands out to me. I think, like I said, if you let Rami Malek do that, he does the exact same amazing job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good point, though. Is I think that what's his name? I did find who wrote this. John Lee Hancock. He's the one that wrote and directed this. So I think, like, talking about this, I think he wrote the villain first, and then was like, what would be interesting to like put these two like hard-nosed detectives around this villain. And like you said, like I think that Jared Leto is the best written character here, because Rami Malek's character is just very bland. I mean, they kind of give him some sort of weight with his family, but then again, it's like in the grand scheme of things, like his family and his 2 daughters or whatever doesn't really amount to nothing. Because I mean, like it kind of like points out to like Leto does this whole Kevin Spacey 7 thing where he kind of like points out that he knows that he's got a family and everything, and then it turns into that what's in the box type scene where it's like, are we digging like somebody else's up that's not like maybe his
Well,
family or whatever?
they even set it up that way because they have him this whole scene where they follow him in a car and he takes public transportation to the gentleman's club, and then they just chill there all day, and then he leaves by public transportation to go back. So he has all this time where he'd be like, wait, did he maybe leave the gentleman's club and go do something? There was time where he could have done that. Nope, he was just in the gentleman's club all day. And now he just went to some random field and had him dig in there. And then they're like, you get this beat where he's saying his dialogue in the field, and he's like, how about your family? And you're inside your brain, you're going, all right, he's going to dig up his family now. And it's going to be like, oh my God. But no, we don't get any of that, which is fine. Just give me something else that is better than nothing, which is what we got. So.
Yeah. But even to go back to your point though, Matt, it's like when Denzel follows him out there, doesn't he already follow them and kind of like circles where they are? And then it's just happened to be convenient that after he hits him with the shovel, he's like, maybe I should step in, and like comes and drives up, and it's like,
I thought he dead ended because he's driving down the road and there's like a tractor blocking the road.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, they didn't go this way, so he turns back around.
oh, okay.
But that was also, it was confusingly edited because they cut back and forth. Rami Malek and Jared Leto, Denzel.
Yeah. I don't know.
They could have done some cross-cutting, some Christopher Nolan style cross-cutting to make it unnecessarily intense. They already make a lot of the editing already unnecessarily intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Besides the fact that he worked at that, like Jared Leto worked at that appliance store, there was no real reason to follow this guy around except he looked a little shady.
Yeah, that was another thing. You come across who this guy may or may not be the killer, may or may not, and you run across him because he works for the company that got a call order for a refrigerator that was dead in this, this murdered lady's house. And then you follow him and he's got you end up in his apartment and he's got, a hidden area that has a bunch of news clippings or whatever, which they never really go into. You figure that would be the most important part of this. If you're sneaking into the guy's house, I don't care, steal it, take it all out. It's the most important thing. But no, they just cut away. You see the detective's face every time. You might see a news clipping or whatever, just like one, and then they just show it. And I just thought everything was just, I mean, he's got to be the killer though, right? Everything just lines up.
You would think.
Yeah, well, you either
you
either sacrifice the cliffhanger or you sacrifice the character arcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that goes back to Denzel not finding whoever he was looking for back, in those flashbacks, and then that's ultimately what's happening here with Rami Malek. He's not.
I thought they were
it,
connected.
So, right. Wait. What am I saying? What?
Wasn't
confused.
that the whole point of him being Denzel being a part of this? Is because he thought that their cases were connected.
It was
he felt
either that
similarities.
or he felt like the weight of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like,
yeah, that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Either way, I don't think it makes a difference. He's either doing it because they're connected or he's doing it because he feels the weight of him shooting somebody at the previous case and letting it go unsolved. I don't think it matters by the end either way because his character arc continues on no matter if they're connected or not. Because he doesn't have any connection to the villain, just the other detective, really.
And do we ever get a scene of aside from knowing his backstory of Denzel being an amazing cop, he sat in the room, he noticed the refrigerator was turned off, but that's about it. He never had any good interrogation scenes. He followed someone around. It was just very lackluster and not entertaining.
Yeah. There was one part in addition to that scene where he goes across the street or something and he sees some type of empty floor or something, I mean, okay.
Empty apartment. Yeah.
That scene.
Does it take him does it take a genius to find an entire room across the exact same level? I'm like, okay, he's great at noticing a big old room across the street. So I agree.
Well, that actually, one of the things Alex, you and I had talked about it earlier, and I can't tell if I appreciate it or not. The 90s setting was probably smart because serial killers didn't become a big thing until what, the 70s, and psychological
Yeah.
profiling was still a big thing. The book on it didn't come out until I think the 80s, like the first published one. So I like that it was kind of, yeah, there's this hotshot cop, but he has no clue what he's doing. But also, Alex, you pointed out, like, the 90s setting also doesn't matter beyond that. It's really confusing because it's not treated like a 90s film. Everyone talks normally, and the lighting and tone and editing and camera work and everything but the cars and phones just look normal.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even remember that until you had just mentioned it.
Well-
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, okay, is this modern or is this not? Because every time I look, there's like an old, station wagon type deal, or I'm just like, okay, this has got to be 90s.
Well, simplistically, they have to make these movies 90s movies because if you make it anything later, like the 2000s, and you implement cell phones, it makes writing a script exponentially complicated.
Oh yeah, true.
This way, it's a lot easier.
And they still fumbled.
I didn't even realize this took place in the 90s.
Well, see, that was a little bit of the confusing thing. So is it even, this is not a question that's even answered for me yet. Is that first scene, is that a flashback? And it says 1990 somewhere. And
The first scene's the girl they're looking for the whole movie.
is it?
I think.
Oh,
No, the first scene
No,
is
no,
the
no.
girl, because she shows up in the police. She's the one that's in the precinct, and they have her sitting down, and she's the one who's supposed to point him out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Which-
that.
Which, by the way, is like 3 days later, by the way.
So they didn't really need to put the date on there
Yeah, really.
at all. So I don't think they put a new date on the screen at any point. They're just like, hey guys, this takes place in the 90s in case you were concerned why there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they put that date at the bottom was in the font and style that you were going to get another date at some point. It wasn't there are other movies that give you the date right off the bat, so you obviously know what time period you're in, and then just leave it at that. This did not do that. This intentionally looked like, we're going to tell you this, and then 10 years from now, it's going to be 2001, where they were, which did not do that.
Look, they were going to tell you who the killer was, and then they didn't. So,
Can I have another question about the script too? And just in case I'm dumb, why did that peeping Tom guy kill himself?
Who?
The guy who they brought into question, and then Denzel brings up the woman who I guess he shot, or the dead woman from before, and the peeping Tom guy freaks out and he's like, oh my god. And then next scene they're like, and he took a 12 gauge to his head, or he swallowed a 12 gauge.
Oh, see, I remember them saying that, and I had no idea who they were talking about because I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's dumb.
And I'm like, what? Okay, well, I guess something is important here. Turns out nothing was important.
no. I want to say that he was a suspect with that one case, like his case. But I'm not 100% on that. 'Cause I could have swore, because they brought him in. I think like Denzel like suggested bring this kid in because of what happened before, and that's why he kind of like freaked out. I guess I don't know. But again, that's a 50-50 shot. Or maybe he just liked the 12 gauge. I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah.
And why do we keep getting these things in the script where they're like, they have the scene where he has to say the name and the title, and he's like, what did they have? What was the last thing she had to eat before she shot herself or whatever? And he was like, roast beef. And he's like, why do you need to know that? He's like, oh no, the little things, or something like that. And then you look through, and then he gets the pizza, and he's like, look at these bite marks. Is this his bite? And they're like, I don't know. And they're like, look at this fingerprint that we found on it. Is this his fingerprint? Oh no. Oh, look at this beer. And then you see the beer in the fridge, and you're like, oh, it's the same beer. Must be the same guy.
Yeah, I thought that was the lamest part of the movie. Like, oh, he might have had the same beer. Ooh.
I thought he was going to turn into, what was that movie? where Denzel was the alcoholic? Flight.
Flight, yeah.
Yeah, Flight.
I was like, is there another word in that? I'm like, is he going to be an alcoholic now? Is he just like, where's the beer? I need it for evidence. And why is he haunted by? Why isn't he just haunted by like the one girl he shot? Why is he haunted by all of them?
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, you know, when the first like scene of him like having physical manifestations of his of those girls, I thought that was a prostitute that he actually hired from outside for a second. You know how he goes into the hotel and there's always
think-
like,
yeah.
hey,
I think it's supposed to be like that. I think your brain's supposed to snap and go like, oh yeah, oh wait, no.
okay, yeah, I thought maybe okay, he's super like out of it psychologically and
Lonely.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought that okay, so I guess that was the point. I didn't think it was supposed to be, but
No.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I don't know
For as-
either.
For as
So what's-
frustrating as this movie has been, we have exhausted.
Well, the sad thing
our-
is, I watched it and I wasn't bored. I was just expecting like to be rewarded, and I wasn't rewarded with all the dumb stuff.
I
And
agree.
I don't feel like satisfied with any of it. And the more I think about it, the more I just am like, why is this happening? The question though, and this is like an interesting question, would Malek's character been better off if Denzel had never shown up?
Probably.
So
I mean, yeah, they wouldn't have found like half the stuff they were looking for. So emotionally, he would have been better off. He would have probably got a couple of promotions, and the case would have gone cold.
it's true. And thank God the feds showed up and did absolutely nothing.
I forgot that happens.
Me too. Like they had that whole scene where they like kind of like took over, or was supposed to take over, and that was it.
And
yeah,
thank
go
thank
ahead,
God Denzel, you know, had that breakdown and had a heart attack and then had to leave the force and everyone rips on him for it. And he hates the chief officer. I'm like, dude, this guy like lost his mind and had like a health issue and everyone is still like, look at this crazy man. What are you doing here? We don't like you anymore. I'm like, really? That's the fraternity we have right here? This is how police officers treat each other? That's cool.
Yeah,
Great.
I didn't think that made sense at all. Like, oh, hey, it's this guy. Don't get mixed up with him. I'm like,
It's like they almost did it before you knew like that happened. Like they almost was going to be like a political thing that
Yeah.
I thought they were heading towards, but they never really talked about. He shot the girl and then they covered it up, but no political aspect of it. That chief never really showed up. There wasn't any arguments shown or anything like that. He just left and got a job somewhere else. So I hate this movie.
Me as well.
3 out of 10.
I think this is
Deuces.
where the whole what Ryan mentioned in our spectrums. Like, again, I try to give it the benefit of the doubt with its whole ending. It's definitely not the best. It's not worth the time, but I get it, and like I appreciate what it tried to do.
Okay, I would fall in line with this whole theory of like accepting this if they still solved or still gave closure to who killed these girls, because like in some sense it's like, okay, we have this scene where Denzel Washington sends him the barrettes and stuff. It's like, okay, you can put your mind at ease because I found these, psych. But have somebody else that's been on this case kind of unravel it a little bit further for you and be like, look, this may not be solved for these two, but we're solved for the audience because like essentially we killed Jared Leto for nothing. There's no evidence connected to him. There's no, in Rami Malek's mind, yes, because of the bread or whatever, and he's kind of put at ease with it. But I think that if you put in like some epilogue to this whole thing, instead of like Denzel Washington and his dog for some reason, you kind of give this like who the other detective that was there, like kind of working the case with him, and just been like, well,
the
we
other
have
guy's name was like Sal, I think.
something like, yeah. So if you had him kind of like take over the case and just kind of like this 2-minute epilogue and been like, okay, well, this leads me here to Jared Leto or to this, whatever, and you close it for the audience instead of just leaving it so open-ended where it's like, I'm sitting here thinking after I'm done watching this movie, like, we just murdered a man for literally no reason because he didn't even have any type of evidence except for newspaper clippings, and I don't think that's against the law to have that somewhere in your house.
Or we just make it super like emotionally complicated, and we have a scene where Rami Malek's character sees a news report with the girl that was missing actually be found. She just went on vacation.
Yeah.
And then he's like, wait a minute, why do I have this red beret then? What happened? Did he just lie to me?
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah. Something besides just, oh, I got a beret. Cool. I'm going to put it in my daughter's hair now. Okay.
Do we know what the Rotten Tomato score on this is?
I think it's floating around 40 to 50, yeah. And I think IMDb is around 5 to 6.
6.3.
Okay, so now I don't feel as bad giving it that little extra because they give it a low. It's all right.
All right. Do we have any more thoughts on the little things?
We had a lot of thoughts for the little things.
We did.
We did.
Big
Spoiler
thoughts
alert,
for the little things.
Denzel was actually the killer. I just made the movie better, guys. Made it better.
It probably would have made it better if he was the killer and he was like, I'm hunting myself and I'm just gonna pick this like greasy appliance repairman as my target.
That would have been interesting if he just knows him because this guy's obsessed with serial killer cases and he'd totally be in for it.
Yeah,
Just
man.
ruins the life of this rookie cop.
Cool. The little things too. The littler things. Okay, so next week we have. Oh wait, Alex. Forgot about Alex in Rear Window.
Oh yeah.
Alex's Classic Corner.
Yes.
Hit it
So
with us, sir.
this is my 10th edition of the Classic Corner. So
I believe so.
yeah, I was like, we were kind of mulling over what categories to kind of float around, but I was like, you know what, Rear Window I've been not putting off, but just I eventually have to watch it. So I was like, it's a good one to put at number 10. So yeah, Rear Window, James Stewart. Love the actor. He it's almost like you can obviously, because it's a older piece being 50s and he's 40s 50s 60s. I mean he acted until he was like up into like the very beginning of the 90s, but anyway, so it's a dated acting scene, but he's actually very, in my opinion, kind of modern in his approach with however he acts in anything. But getting to this movie, it was fine. I really think that this movie, give me the premise, let me watch the first 10 minutes, and then I can skip to the last half hour, because there's a lot of it that I felt like is okay. Like the details aren't totally necessary. Like, I mean, if you really want to pay attention and get all of it, sure, there's all the different scenes with the neighbors. It's fine in that regard, but in my opinion, not very necessary at all. It did have that when it got to the last 40 minutes, half hour, there was the scene, I'm blanking a little, where somebody screams and where the dog is found strangled, dead. And I'm like, oh shoot, like, okay, this is finally throwing some of this thriller I've been hearing about into the picture. And I kind of knew through other references, like I think back when I watched That 70s Show, they referenced this movie a lot, and I didn't know at the time. I just thought it was a scene, and looking back, I kind of knew how this played out. So the final scene is okay, where he actually confronts, or his neighbor is like comes to his apartment and they're fighting and they're he's like just struggling. They're struggling. It's it's fine. I mean, it's a 50s movie, so I'm not trying to judge it too harshly. I actually thought it was kind of funny. He falls a little out of the window, is caught by XYZ, and then he has casts on both legs now, and now he's even stuck for even longer. So I thought that was pretty funny. He's good. I don't think this is my James Stewart is good in this, but I don't think this is my favorite film with him. It's a Wonderful Life was easily the best movie I've watched of these classics that I've been doing. So six out of 10 for me. I think it's maybe 6.5. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch it and give it another try. But I felt like it was kind of like Lawrence of Arabia, where there was a lot of boring time that I feel like I didn't totally need. And then I just could probably have skipped to the last quarter of the movie and been just as well off. In fact, I didn't skip. I just did that thing where you fast forward it and it doesn't skip any of the dialogue. It just makes them talk a little bit faster, like, and the music goes a little bit faster. So I was like, because some of this was dragged on a little bit. So, it's not a bad movie. I would watch it again because I feel like maybe there's something I missed that might be a little unique to the movie and cinematography. Like there's probably some little glorious nugget that I'm just not getting or didn't see before. But it's okay. 6 out of 10. It was fine.
Cool. Well, thank you. That was Alex's Classic Corner. Yay! Good job, Alex. So, Alex, next week we have Alien. Ridley Scott's.
Wait, can I watch it too?
I watched it yesterday.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'll put my laptop here. We'll do a Zoom meeting. I'll throw it on my TV over here, and we can all just watch together.
Ryan reading ahead in the book.
So, Alex, I need you to know this is like one of my top 5 favorite films of all time. So if you could just be as nice as you can.
No pressure.
You can say negative things. Just tell me when you're going to, and I'll just.
I'm gonna be in there and be like, when does she bust ghosts? Where are the ghosts? I know this is Alien, but where are the ghosts?
Well,
So
Bilbo's in this movie too.
Ryan's gonna get like a chalkboard, and he's gonna or a whiteboard behind him, and it's gonna say like things that Alex is wrong about, and he's just gonna put like check marks on there whenever you say something bad about the film.
No, I will give it every bit of like benefit of the doubt if there is any doubt.
Yes.
I actually chose this. This just wasn't a Clint suggestion because I was like, you know what? I feel like I haven't put a sci-fi movie in there. I mean,
wait, have you seen any of the Alien movies?
I was trying not to let the cat out of the bag on this, but I've been kind of scam artist on that. Yep, I've never watched them.
That's okay. 1, 2,
done.
Yeah, I remember seeing clips of both 1 and 2. Well, actually, a little bit of all of them. Nothing to be like, oh, I saw it. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'll give this a watch. And I've not seen Covenant either.
4 is not horrible. It's not horrible.
I watched Covenant.
I like all of them in there for what they are. Put it that way.
You didn't see Covenant? I watched Covenant at Movie Tavern.
If I dig, I probably have that promotional wristband somewhere.
It was our freaking training day. And like somebody picked Covenant. I could have sworn you were there, Alex, but
oh, I'm sure I was like not watching the movie, but I probably either threw it on or something. No, I didn't know that stuff yet, so maybe not.
Well,
maybe it was Matt. Just you thought it was me.
I mean, I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, I've actually seen. Well, no, I've only seen Covenant once. That was enough.
Okay, so let me before we get to the next segment, I'll be like, okay, if I like this, if I think this is good, I'll commit to watching the second one the following week.
Well, here's the thing, Alex. They're 2 different styles of film.
Yeah.
Totally.
Two
Nope.
completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't like this one, there's a good chance you'd really like the second one.
Oh,
Mhm.
Alien, Alien and Aliens is Terminator and Terminator 2. They both take a little bit to build up. I think Aliens takes a little bit longer to build up. But they both kind of are like sci-fi, and then Alien goes just full horror, and Aliens goes full action.
Mhm.
Whereas like Terminator goes full thriller, and Terminator 2 goes just full action. So that's why I say don't set expectations at all watching those two movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll take that into consideration. I'll keep that in my brain.
Yeah, that's why, Alex, when we talked about it, like I was kind of hesitant to do Alien because you already done a horror movie, because I consider Alien more of a horror movie than like a
See,
sci-fi movie.
But you guys think I like dislike horror altogether. I think it's because of the way horrors are done today. I think they're bad now. And I'm not against horror. Like I like a decent scary flick. I'm just not like Matt and Jeannie where I need to watch every scary movie on the existence of mankind.
Well, no, the reason why I say that is because like you just did Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
So that was the horror genre. And so like with Alien, that's why I was kind of hesitant to kind of suggest Alien, because you just did a horror. Because never mind, you'll watch it. So
yeah, I mean it's fine.
Yeah,
I consider this more sci-fi than horror to me personally.
yeah, but like Matt and Ryan are right. Like even I would even say like all four of them are kind of like a different genre into themselves.
Yeah.
Because I would even consider 3 kind of like a
dumpster fire.
That's just what it looks like.
I was gonna say like a prison movie, but yeah,
it is. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah,
like a Cool Hand Luke type prison movie. Not as good as Cool Hand Luke, but and then like even 4 is kind of like this. It's almost like a heist movie. If you kind of break it down to it's like bare.
4's weird. 4 might be a sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I picked a good one for conversational piece, I believe.
Yeah.
I was telling him, I was like, I want like a sci-fi movie. Now I will admit full well that I've never seen 2001 Space Odyssey because that looks weird, but I was considering it because a lot of these films I've watched look weird and some of them I ended up really liking. And I'm like, but I don't want to watch that one. I really, and Clint was like, that's, what did you say? It's cerebral.
Yeah, it's very cerebral.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore Kubrick. But even this was a little out left field for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I liked, and I know that you'd probably even would hate this. I know that you'd probably hate 2001.
Yeah, there's just certain ones where I have to draw the line. Like, yeah. I mean, it's probably great to some people, but I just know it's not going to be for me. I know, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're bad for it, Ryan. I'm just saying it's not my thing.
Sometime I got to pitch you guys. I did this whole comparison that Interstellar is a 2001 remake.
Oh, then maybe I will like it. Because I freaking love Interstellar.
Freaking. Yeah, I don't know. It's even more weird than that. But hey, if you have time, I think it's on HBO.
I think it is too. Yeah, I saw it somewhere.
So, all right. So for the rest of us, we got Malcolm and Marie or Bliss. I'm leaning towards Malcolm and Marie because the trailer looks a little bit more interesting, but I don't know.
I'm going to end up watching both, so it's whatever everybody else kind of feels.
Bliss?
I don't know. It just kind of popped up to me as something new, something, I was like, okay, Owen Wilson. He's all right.
It's Owen Wilson and Selma Hayek, and it's coming out on...
Wow.
And it's got Bill Nye in it.
I noticed that too.
Oh. I'll watch both.
Bill Nye, the science guy. Bliss.
It's not that Bill Nye, though, right? It's not that Bill Nye. Oh, really? Oh, I'm not watching that.
Yeah. Bill Nye is like... he's I'll just keep my thoughts to myself.
I'm gonna rewatch the little things just to see if I can pick up on some little things to see if I can figure out who the killer is.
It's Denzel Washington. I thought we solved this.
Shoot.
Well, guys, I'm gonna watch Little Things again, and then I'll present even more that I hated.
So Malcolm Marie,
Yeah, that's fine.
I thought the trailer looked a little bit more interesting than Bliss, but let's do Malcolm Marie. If you guys have any thoughts on Bliss, please bring them up.
Yeah, I'll do a little mini review on that too.
Cool beans.
I'm going to watch Alien 3, 4, Prometheus, and Covenant because I also watched Aliens yesterday.
Oh, I thought because
Ryan's
you don't like
classic
yourself
corners.
right now.
No, I got the Aliens Colonial Marines board game. So I've just been in an alien mood.
Sweet. All right. Any other thoughts then, guys? All right, then this meeting is adjourned. We will see you all next week.
Later.